Good evening, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to tonight's Alumni Mentor Resource Webinar with the Black Bruin Resource Center. My name is Joseph Blancas, and I serve as an Assistant Director for the Alumni Career Engagement Team at UCLA Alumni Affairs. Today, we are joined by Amanda Finzi-Smith, Interim Program Director of the Black Bruin Resource Center, to share with all of you the programs, resources, and activities available for the Black community on campus. I wanted to take this opportunity to thank our Alumni Association sustaining donors. It's with your help that we are able to strengthen the Bruin community with programs like this. For some general webinar housekeeping, we will have time at the end for a Q&A with our speaker. Now to start our program, I'm excited to introduce Amanda. Amanda has worked in residential life for the last 6 years at UCLA, where she served as a resident director. As a first-generation college student and a first-generation American, Amanda has used her life and career to help serve the communities that she most identifies with. Driven by the desire to help the underserved and underprivileged Black and Brown students maximize their potential at UCLA, she was instrumental in the development of the Black Community Center, where she currently serves as an advisor. At the end of 2020, Amanda was asked to step into her role and move forward with developing and opening the BBRC. I'll turn it over to Amanda to start our program.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah,
thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. So I will let you go ahead and take over the program and just share about the Black Bruin Resource Center.
Absolutely. This is super exciting to be here. I do not get enough opportunity to interact with alumni because primary focus of my job is really the current students that are here. So I always love an opportunity to share just what we're doing and how you guys can be involved. So kind of just wanted to take you all through how we got here, where we are now, what we're offering, and what we hope to do in the future, in case it interests any of you, or if you have kids coming here, or you just want to, be a part of the happenings. So the fight, I would say, is what we call it. The fight for the Black Bruin Resource Center started with some students many, many years ago, but to my knowledge, started in 2015. The students were asking for a space that they felt safe on campus and that they could gather and be of community. And this was really important because at that time, the Black student population was only 4%. That was 6.5 years ago. And at this time, the Black population is 5%. So we've gone up about 1% to 0.5% in the Black student population, but they're a very small group of students, usually less than 2,000. And so they wanted a space where they could be among others, because a lot of times when they go into their classrooms, they're the only one, or they don't look like their professors, or they don't look like the staff and administration that's helping them. And so the fight began, discussions with the chancellor and our vice chancellor, our EDI, just everyone that would listen to them. And as the years gone on, they've gotten many spaces. So we have a Black Forum space, which is located where our Bunch Center is. That's the research on Black happenings at the university. So we have a space there that students at the time could use after hours, so 5 to 9 p.m. That was the first space they were given about 4 or 5 years ago. After that, we got a space in 2019 on the Hill. So for those of you that went to school here, you remember what the Hill is. For those of you that never lived on campus, the Hill is our on-campus living area. We call it the Hill because you literally go up a hill to get there. And so we were given a space in Reber Hall where students could commune. And so we spent 1.5 years really building up that space, planning programs, starting our Instagram account and that kind of stuff. And we had a grand opening. It was like March 4th or something like that. We had the grand opening of 2020. And then about 10 days later, COVID happened and the university shut down. So that was our first space. That was our second space that we got, but first space that was entirely ours. And COVID shut us down. So we then moved all of our programming into a virtual space. And so we started doing karaoke nights and open mics and game nights over Zoom and Instagram Live and that kind of stuff. So we tried to keep the community engaged, knowing that they would be away. After that, well, yeah, that was the beginning of 2020. In June 2020, George Floyd died. And the students at the time put together a very large protest. During COVID, it brought over 1,500 people to campus. And it was a beautiful sight. And in there, they just continued to express their need for community and desire to have more space, because the space we got was a decent size, but it didn't fit our whole community. And so with COVID, you know, some people were moving out of spaces. Spaces were finally becoming available in a central part of campus. And so right after that protest, the students were able to garner a space in the center of campus, which is actually where I'm sitting in right now. It's in Kirkhoff Hall, for those of you that remember, right next to Ackerman, the bookstore. And so this is our permanent space. So we got the space during COVID, which one would understand that meant we did not get it to be in person, right? Which I believe was a great thing, because to just create and develop the space, the furniture, the colors on the wall, that kind of stuff, it took a long time. And so luckily, not being in person gave us the time we needed to ensure that it looked how we wanted it to look when students walked into this space. And so so we were closed. We continued to do virtual programming, which engaged a lot of the student population. We joined in on conversations with new admits, just so they could know that we would be here when they got here, and so on and so forth. And then September 27th of 2021, we opened our doors, and we've pretty much been open since. Like, we've closed when, you know, COVID has closed the institution down, and we closed during those times. But even right now, there's probably around 30 people out there just, you know, having fun. So that's how we got here. That's what we're doing. Some of the things that we like to say that we're a hub. We don't believe in recreating the wheel on things that people are already doing and are excelling at. So instead of recreating the wheel, we wanted to create a space that would make students feel comfortable stepping into other spaces on campus. So for instance, if a student needed to talk to a financial aid officer, they would come here and we would say, you should go talk to this person, right? Like a direct handover or direct connection with someone in an office that was there to support this student population. A lot of times, because this population is so small, they don't always know when they're gonna get the treatment that they feel they deserve, right? And so we just wanted to make sure that our center knew who those people were, so that we could provide them the resources, ensure that they knew that everyone on here on campus is here to serve them and to help them with the things that they need. So we call ourselves a hub. So we're not recreating services or wheels or programs. We're doing things that we think will benefit this specific population, while connecting them to centers that do not only serve the specific population. But some of the things that we do in this center is we have a computer lab here and at our second location, where students can log in, do homework, take classes, that kind of stuff. We also offer free printing. So thank you to one of our donors. When a student comes into the center, they can register with us, and we put money on their Bruin card or with their account to printers that are located all over campus, and they can essentially go to any of those printers and print for free. And when their money runs out, they come back and we put more money on their card. So that was a big thing. Like the first couple weeks of trying to figure out what the students needed, that's the first thing we heard the most. And so we reached out to a donor who was more than willing to help us get the funds for that. The second thing that we heard that people needed was like meals, right? So not like a meal, but like snacks and drinks, like when they're hanging out, what brings you here? So we got a Keurig machine. So we give free coffee, tea, hot chocolate to everyone and anyone that walks in here. And most recently, we just set up a food cart. So there's a food pantry right outside my door, which is why they're always noisy out there. And we give snacks. We have drinks in our fridge. We have food in the freezer, like ice cream and stuff. So while they're here, they don't feel like they need to go out and spend money to buy things, right? Like we're providing that service to them. We also have some programming that happen in the center. So we have a bunch of student staff, and each of those student staff are assigned to different population areas. So some of the students that we have that work here are part of our Bruin Guardian Scholars, which is students that have gone through the foster care system at one point in their life. And those students in this center focus on reaching other foster care. We have foster care and students who have gone through foster care to make sure they feel comfortable in this space. We have people who focus on seniors, juniors, sophomores, freshmen. We also have a student who's an athlete, and she focused on making sure that the athletes feel safe. That was another thing we wanted to focus on, because in my time here, I've seen that the athletes, they kind of get served the things they need as far as tutoring and academic support in the athletic building, but I wanted to make sure that they were connected with the rest of campus. And so we do programs specifically for them. Like one we have coming up is like March Madness. We're going to do a March Madness watch party in here. So we also have a conference room that students can book out for their student meeting. So one of the concerns we heard before we got the center was that students did not have places to meet on a regular basis. Every week they were trying to find somewhere new. So we've created a system where you can just request this conference room or our conference room on the Hill. And if you want it on a weekly basis, you can say you want a weekly basis. If you want it bi-weekly, whatever it is your regularity is, and we'll give that to you. So that has become a really big thing in our spaces too. We bring in, we have a program called the Liaison Hours, which goes back to my hub theme. And so we bring in individuals from different departments to spend time in here. So they're doing their regular work or office hours like faculty, but they're just doing it in the center so students become more familiar with them. Another thing that we found is that students don't want to talk to people they don't see on a regular basis, right? If they don't know you, if they can't point where they've seen you before, they're not going to be the easiest to trust you. And so we decided that we wanted to bring in those staff and faculty into our center so that they could now see their face and then become more comfortable with them, and then take that relationship to where they really should be, which is in their department. So we have the Liaison Hours, which we're continuing in the spring. And the most recent thing that we knew we were going to do, but we're going to pilot it sooner than later, is a Leadership Academy. So we did a survey to the Black community, and we got about 40% of the community to respond. And a lot of them put a high interest in wanting to be a part of a Leadership Academy, which we were going to start in fall quarter of next year. But because we have such an interest, we're going to do a pilot in spring. So that's something we're going to be offering. Another thing that we noticed is people wanted to be connected to alumni. And so that's why I love being here today, is because our students want to be connected to you. And so how do we get them in that spaces? How do we provide you opportunities to come here and them opportunities to talk to you? And so, yeah, that's why I'm here today. I think that's like most of the things we do at this moment, but we're a brand new center. We're one of the newest centers on campus, and the majority of our time is spent figuring out how are we best serving our student needs versus making the decisions and then being like, well, now we're doing it, right? We have like constant conversations with them about what they want to see and how they want to experience the space. And then once they say it, we try and implement it. We see if it works. And if it doesn't, then we scrap that and start something new. So yeah.
Thank you, Amanda. That was all such great information and super exciting to see how far the center has come. And I can tell you are just excited about it and its future and the potential that it has. Along those lines, this is a question for you. What would you say are the center's goals for maybe the next year or two?
Yeah, that's a phenomenal question. I think the goal is, and that's okay. So I decided to do to get a GSR this year so that we could do the research on what is student experiences prior to having a center, and just 1/4 of a center, right? And so we did that research and we got a lot of results. My goal 2-3 years from now is to change all of those responses. So those responses that were like, they don't feel comfortable on campus, or they don't have any friends, or they've never heard about these programs that have been in existence at UCLA for over 50 years, right? And now I want the response to be dramatically different. And like, yes, I know about that. Of course, I heard about that my freshman year or first year in the university. So that's one of my goals. My second goal is to grow the center. So right now, I'm the only full-time staff that works here. Outside of me, it's a bunch of students. I do have 3 graduate students, 2 PhD, and 1 master's student. But again, their time is limited and they're specialized in specific programs. And so another one is to get more staff in here, right? Because I think the more we have staff, the more we're able to actually serve the student population. The student population is, including graduate students, which we do serve, just under 3,000 students, and one person cannot serve 3,000 students. So my hope is that we can grow the staff so that we better serve these specific populations that we have.
Yeah, I mean, that all makes sense. And I'm sure you'll get there. But again, super exciting that they do have a center to look to for that support. Along those lines, what would you say is, I guess, 1 or 2 top issues that Black students or the Black community is facing with regards to like professional development or researching or starting like an internship or job search? Are those things that the center helps with or helps guide those students with?
Yeah, so not directly. Directly, we do not point them in that direction, but indirectly we do. So most centers at this point who are trying to hire our students will send me an email. Hey, can you post this? Can you share out this flyer for me of this job hiring? And then I blast it out to the entire Black student population. And so in that way, I've been able to start getting them to hear about these opportunities that they didn't know before. What do I think they struggle in? Knowing the opportunities, right? I think they sit in a little bubble. And as I shared, they don't like to ask for help. The majority of these students will not ask for help, right? It needs to be like thrown in their face. And so that is what I would say the center is helping with, is that now we're putting it in your face. You don't need to look for it. I'm going to send it to you in an email. All I need you to do is read my email, right?
Yeah.
And so we are not directly providing these internship opportunities, but I know one thing for sure is they want to be connected to alumni. I think that's what's stopping them with their resume building, their internships, their job prospects. What do they want to do when they graduate? Half of them don't know. Do you want to do a master's degree? What do you want to do that in, right? I think their connection to alumni and people who look like them is really what they need, in full honesty and transparency, to see that someone like them made it and is able to do what they want to do. And so that's why I know I was even talking to you about, like, I want to start like a mentorship program, but I don't want to recreate the wheel, right? Because they need to be connected to these alumni, but it's not happening right now. There's a disconnect somewhere in why they are not talking more, to know that there's 119 years of people who have done what you're doing and would love to help you. And so that's my hope.
Yeah, no, and that kind of falls in line with my next question along the lines of alumni mentors, because this is a webinar for our alumni mentors. What are, I think you kind of touched on it, but what would you say are some areas our mentors should keep in mind as they're mentoring and serving our Black students?
Yeah.
Are there any areas that you feel are distinctly different, or that they feel they might need more help with?
figuring out their lives, like in full honesty and transparency, figuring out their lives. And some of them have their lives figured out, but they don't know how they're going to get there. Like, I know I want to be an entertainment lawyer, but how I get to be an entertainment lawyer, who do I need to talk to along the process? How do I apply to grad school? Like, those are the things that they need help with, that I think that alumni can offer.
Mhm.
I think it's that experience that they need. They don't have any experience. Most of them have never worked outside of the UCLA world. And so hearing from people who have lived experiences, I think, is what will benefit them.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. I think most of our students at the end of participating in our program say that, it was knowing the experience and the journey of how their mentor got to where they are that really helped them and helped define how they decided what they wanted to do during their time at UCLA and beyond. So I think it really serves a great purpose. Another question, and I think this is more aligned with just supporting the center and meeting your goals, but how can maybe our mentors support the center beyond, the student aspect, but are there ways for them to get involved or volunteer, or are there things that you feel is a need for the center?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, my number one answer is always going to be like, donate, just donate to us, right? Because we're small and new, and so we always need money, right? To make the things happen that the students are asking for, it takes money. And to get more staff like I want to do, it takes money. And so, yeah, my number one answer is always going to be donate.
I know that there was a Spark campaign
Yeah, it ends in
going
like
on.
5 days. Yeah, but we do have a Spark
Okay.
campaign.
Yeah,
It's
I can definitely share that link out in
yeah,
a follow-up email as well too.
yeah, that would be great. We've been very fortunate in our past Spark campaigns. This one's not as poppin' as we would like it to be, but anything counts. So that would be number one. I mean, two, if you think that you can provide some insight into a student, I mean, send an email of what you do and who you want to help, and I'll find you a student who needs the help. There's so many times that students come up and say these random things, and I'm like, oh, I know the perfect person to connect you to, and then send an email that connects them to whosoever. And
Mhm.
so if you're willing to do that, we'll take that. If you want to do a workshop here on what you specialize in and that kind of stuff, we'll plan a workshop around you just to get students that experience, because a lot of these students don't know all the potential job paths that they could get. And so
Mhm.
hearing from alumni would be great.
Yeah. Um, I have a question kind of along those lines, but say a student or a mentor wanted to know the various maybe annual programs that you offer or activities. Is there a way that you get all this information out, or is there
Yeah.
somewhere they can subscribe?
Yeah, so we do have a newsletter. There's a subscription link, but I can't remember it offhand, so I'll send it to you.
Yeah,
So
that'd
we
be
do have a
great.
newsletter that we send out at minimum monthly, but sometimes I send it out more often than that, depending on what's happening. And that will always have what events are happening and what's going on. We also have a website. It's just blackburnresourcecenter.ucla.edu. The
Mhm.
events on that need to be updated, but it gives you context around what we're doing, what we want to do, what our plans for each quarter is in a more holistic, larger sense.
Mhm.
But yeah, so those are the two places: our website and then our newsletter.
Great. Yeah. I will definitely follow up with an email to get any and all information that you want to share out to our mentors and even our students. I think it's a great resource to educate them about and keep them informed. Um, we're getting near the end of our session, but I had one last question for you, Amanda. And this is, I think, more a little personal, but still around the center. What has been your most special moment or memory since the center opened?
Yesterday, actually, which is so crazy.
That's nice.
I know. So context. At the beginning of the quarter, there's a class that's taught here specifically for Black males. It's called Blacklamated. And it's taught by a graduate student and one of our professors, Tyrone Howard. And I went to that class at the beginning of the quarter and was just telling them about the center, you know, because Black males are very small. My number of students that go to the school, it's like 4 females to 1, right? And so I was just talking to them about like, this is why you should come to the center. Like, make sure you say hi to me when you see me and that kind of stuff. And so that happened like January, like first week in January via Zoom. And then yesterday, there was a bunch of students in the conference room. So I walk in there and I'm like, hey, what's up? We're like, who are you guys? And the guy was like, I was in that class and I came here because you said to, and I believe you, and I'm going to come here every day.
Wow.
It's like, oh, those are the moments.
Yeah, those are definitely the moments that it's all worth it. And you see that there is change and the word's getting out. So yeah, I can see how that could bring you so much joy in your day for sure.
Yeah, I made it all worth it.
Well, before we part, are there any last kind of minute words you want to say about the center or to our mentors before we close our session?
Just thank you for putting time into mentoring these students, right? Like they need it. And I'm not a UCLA grad, so I do not have the lived experience of understanding what it was like to be a student at this institution. And so you are appreciated, and I hope you continue to do it all the time, because when students do get attached with mentors, their trajectory is just so broad and so bright. And so thank you. Would love to see you at some of our events in the future.
Yeah, thank you, Amanda. I really appreciate you taking some time to just speak about the center. We're excited to keep updated on all the things that you have going on, and we'd be happy to collaborate and get the word out to our listservs. So thank you for being here, and to everyone who joined us. Hope you have a good evening. With that, go Bruins.